Hello there, sword friends. This is something of a quick and random update to a sword vlog type thing that I made a few weeks ago. In that sword vlog type thing, I mentioned some bad experiences buying swords, and one of the experiences that I had mentioned was that I was in the midst of a frustrating situation where I had sent some swords out to be restored and they hadn't been sent back. Now, basically, happy ending has ensued wherein someone, a few of you sword friends actually motivated me to actually do something about it, and the result is basically that I have my property back and I'm satisfied with the work that was done on them. So there's a positive spin on that. I can talk a little bit about the things that happen, and I will in a moment, and some of the comments that I got about that particular situation, but in a nutshell, no, pretty much happy ending. Well, when I say pretty much, the reason I say pretty much is, on one hand, I got my stuff back and I'm happy with the work. And if I disconnect all of the stuff that's related to the customer service experience and the waiting and the worrying and all of that, and I just look at what I got for what I paid, I think it's a really great value. I'm super happy with it. It's not perfect. There are some issues to be sure. It's certainly not the same thing as a full restoration. But I had some broken kind of mass production swords, or swords that were not quite at the end of their life, but didn't justify being sent out and spending, $1,000 or more to be repolished, or another $1,000 to have a scion, a new ska made, and all of that kind of stuff. So, for what I got, a little bit of new life into the blades especially, I'm really happy with the result. But the unhappy side of it is that there's stress involved with it, right? So if I'm worried about something for over a year, if I think I'm getting ripped off, if I think I'm powerless, if I think I have to, jump to more drastic means like litigation or something like that, to a person that I don't really bear any ill will against, it's a frustrating situation, and it doesn't make me feel very good about myself, basically. So, in the end, I don't think the juice was worth the squeeze. I certainly would not volunteer to go through it again, for the experience and all of that stuff that surrounds the situation. It still leaves me with a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, sour grapes, if you will, and I'll probably end up selling the swords in the not too distant future because, well, frankly, they just don't bring me any joy. So, yeah, that's kind of the nutshell. But I guess lessons learned from this scenario. One, I waited a very good long time, and I was very patient with the individual that was supposed to be doing the restoration work. And that, patience probably helped. I can't say, usually being a jerk doesn't help anyone. So being patient is not necessarily a bad thing. But what happened, if you're unfamiliar with the scenario, I commissioned some restoration services, if you will. Deadlines were routinely missed. I kind of lost track of how many times that happened. And then communication started to become sparse. So I would be unable to use text or Facebook or email, and nothing worked. And I had no way of contacting the person. So I started to feel like, maybe I'm not going to get them back. And I could remain hopeful or do something, I suppose. So some sword friends said, why don't you do something? And the way I chose to do something was to pursue legal action. I did end up consulting with a lawyer both in my state and in the person who was doing the restoration services state, and I found that that's maybe the thing that is most helpful if you're thinking about what could happen. So in this particular situation, the person that was doing the work was out of my state, which means that I would have to pursue legal action in their state or their place of business. Now, every state's different. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just kind of sharing some of the advice and the experience that I had, and really the end message is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Is it worth it? So on a good day, the two swords that I sent, if they were restored, might be worth $1,000. On the best possible, sunniest, prettiest day, maybe $2,000 to just the right person. But in general, probably not. So maybe I have $1,000 worth of stuff in that person's hands, and I'm looking to recoup it. So either I want my stuff back or I want my money back, right? Or I want compensation for what the value of those things are. That means that I'm going to have to pursue legal action. I'm going to pay legal fees. And for me, I'm going to have to fly. I'm going to have to stay in a hotel. I'm going to have to, deal with other expenses that I'm not able to recoup. I found out that if you want to seek those type of damages in small claims court, you're going to have to be sure that that's up front, wherein if you are working through, working with service on somebody, you have to have some sort of contract that says, hey, in the event you renege on our deal, I'm going to sue you, and you have to agree to pay my expenses, or allow me to sue you for those expenses, or some such thing. Otherwise, you can't really seek damages as it relates to your expenses to go and sue the person. So you're going to bear the brunt of those expenses, and then if you win, it's still on you to kind of, potentially put liens on their property or try to recoup your money, and you can't take money from somebody that doesn't have any, right? So it's no guarantee you'll get your property. It's no guarantee you'll get your money back, but it is a guarantee you're probably going to have some expenses along the way. And then on top of that, you have legal fees. So it's tough to say if it's worth it or not. But those are the things that I ran up against, and it really kind of drives home the idea of don't put yourself out there more than you have to. Exercise caution. Do things that make you. There's a kind of a tangible value, at least more so to me now, of that comfort level in dealing with a person. Wherein, how much is reputation and trust worth? I mean, obviously, people are flawed and imperfect, and bad things can happen, and things don't always go perfectly well, and even the most reputable of us falter. So it's not a guarantee, but I think this experience, at least for me, has kind of put a newfound spotlight on the value of trusted partners and things like that. So that's I guess kind of the experience, and the worst of stuff that can happen. This had a happy ending to me. I got my stuff back. The other thing I should really note is other folks said, why don't you say who it is? Why don't you denounce? Why don't you point your angry finger and yell about stuff like this? To the person specifically that's done it, why don't I say his name? And that's really because I wish him well. If you were thinking about doing any amount of business with the individual, a simple search of his name would certainly yield more information than I think I could really contribute in a constructive way. It's better documented on the various online sources. And furthermore, he's not really looking to do this type of work anymore. And he's made steps to re-enter the community, return everyone's property, make his apologies. I've accepted them. He said he was sorry. I've accepted that. It still leaves me with the taste of sour grapes. So I'm sharing that as a point of experience, but I'm not going to really hold this over his head or anything like that. The point is that the individual has made steps to make amends, and I don't see any reason to kick further or cause more drama than frankly I may already have done. When I said I was thinking about legal service, I posted online on an internal forum where he was a previous member, and said if anyone else is dealing with this scenario, let me know. My initial goal with that was a mixture of helpful and self-serving. So one, in the event there's a lot of people that are experiencing the same issue, maybe we can split the bill on the legal fee or something like that. But also, without making any promises, if somebody was going through the same situation, which there were a few people, I was happy to share the information that I got from a lawyer to help them make a decision on what they wanted to do. And really not knowing, I'm a novice, I've never sued anyone before, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But the point is that if there was any information that could be helpful, or something that would help everyone become whole, that would be good, and I'd be happy to share that information. So I didn't end up having to go that route, and it sounds like other people, or at least the gentleman, has made steps to make amends to the other folks that were also affected. So that's, I think, really all a person can ask. Everyone stumbles, everyone falls, and we're all flawed and imperfect, and sometimes shit happens. So and so basically, I think this is about as good as it can get. Somebody stumbled a little bit in their personal life. Backups happen for whatever reason. I don't want to point fingers or judge. But I got my stuff back, and the guy's making steps to do it. That means that in that time, if I were talking to me, I would have said, yeah, you're pretty much boned. It's extremely unlikely. Even the lawyer said it's really unlikely that this person even has your property, which is, like you go out and sell it and, move on with your life or something like that. And that didn't happen. I got both of my swords back. On top of that, the workmanship done on them for the amount of money I paid in particular is quite good. So, that's really all I wanted to share. There's a little update to that story. I hope it provided some context in terms of, if things go south, what can be expected if you have to go the legal route. I didn't have to go to court or really pursue any official documents or anything like that. No demand letters or anything were issued in my case, so I don't really know what the next step is. If the oh crap button is really hit and you end up having to pursue acquiring your property back, or if you lose, and what that's like in court. I didn't have to deal with that, but I did kind of get up to I don't know, the cusp of legal action, which to me feels like I have my finger on the red button or something like that. It's a very unnerving, really crappy experience. And that's, one, there's like time that's involved in it. You have to re-drum up all your conversations and try to remember what you said over the course of a year. At least I do in my case. Getting photos and all this stuff to pass the lawyer, have conversations in the middle of the day when you could be doing better stuff. And then on top of that, for me, I like the guy that's involved. I just wanted my stuff back, and so you feel like a jerk at the same time. There's this real emotional, nonsensical bunch of crap that you have to do that just frankly isn't fun at all. So that's all I have. I'm going to stop rambling. I hope it's been helpful, or at least provided some context or information into something you hopefully don't have to deal with in the future. That's all I've got. Cheers, and thanks for watching.